What if your everyday money was gold dust? For the Akan and Asante people of Ghana, this was no fantasy. It was life. From bustling forest markets to global trade routes that fueled empires, the Akan built an economy on glittering dust, tiny brass weights, and timeless proverbs. This is the story of how the Akan turned gold into culture, currency, and power. The Akan are Ghana's largest ethnic group, today spread across 5 regions: Central, Western, Eastern, Ashanti, and Bronga-Hafo. They include the Asante, Fante, Bono, Akiem, Akwapim, Kwahu, Sefwi, and Wassa. Their language family, Akan, is tonal and unites millions with shared proverbs, songs, and oral traditions. Their history traces migrations from the Sahara and Sahel around the 11th century into the lush forest belt of present-day Ghana. Here they found abundance, fertile soil, iron for tools, and above all, gold. By the 14th century, Akan miners and traders were supplying gold northwards across the Sahara and to the coast, where Portuguese, Dutch, and later British traders built forts like Elmina. Europeans called the land the Gold Coast for good reason. Akan gold built fortunes across continents. For the Akan, gold wasn't locked away. It circulated as money, known as sika kokor, red gold. It paid for food, cloth, fines, dowries, even court settlements. Gold dust was measured in tiny units called akis. 1 aki equaled about 1/8 of an ounce. With just a few akis, you could buy a chicken. 10 to 12 could buy a goat. A skilled craftsman might earn a single aki a day.
We can offer you this amount of gold for your goods.
But gold dust is slippery, and honesty in trade required precision. Enter the Akan's genius creation, the mramuo, brass gold weights. These miniature sculptures, geometric at first, then figurative, were cast by goldsmiths using the lost wax method. By the 15th century, they became the standard system for measuring gold across West Africa. Over 60,000 weights survive in collections worldwide. They ranged from fractions of a gram to heavy blocks. Some were simple cubes, others were tiny animals, stools, or human figures, embedding Akan philosophy into everyday trade. These weights weren't just tools, they were proverbs in metal. A crocodile with one stomach reminded traders of unity. A tortoise symbolized preparedness. A bird eating from its tail taught foresight. To weigh gold was to weigh wisdom. A wealthy man might own hundreds of weights, signaling both financial and moral authority. Chiefs and the Asantehene himself had sets cast in gold. Queen mothers occasionally had theirs in silver. Akan gold powered massive trade networks. Northbound caravans carried salt from Tagaza and returned with gold dust. To the south, Europeans exchanged guns, beads, cloth, and brass for Akan gold. But there were challenges. Gold wealth fueled wars as Akan states sought captives for the transatlantic slave trade. Fraud was common. Dishonest traders mixed dust with sand. Disputes over weights sometimes escalated to violence. Yet despite these challenges, the Akan system thrived for centuries. By the late 19th century, the world of Akan money faced its greatest disruption. In 1894, the British colonial government officially outlawed gold dust as legal tender. Overnight, a system that had sustained centuries of commerce, justice, and culture was declared illegal. The new West African pound, tied to British banking systems, replaced the shimmering dust that had powered markets from Kumasi to Timbuktu. Brass weights, once symbols of fairness and wisdom, were confiscated, sold off, or locked away in colonial archives. Merchants who carried their sets of weights for trade suddenly found themselves holding nothing more than curiosities. Colonial administrators argued that gold dust was imprecise and primitive, but the truth was more political. By banning it, the British could centralize financial power, forcing everyone to use their coins and notes. This meant taxes had to be paid in colonial currency. Trade revenues flowed into British-controlled banks. Wealth, once rooted in Akan hands, now passed through imperial fingers. The disruption went beyond economics. Chiefs who had long measured their authority in gold regalia and control over trade lost influence. Local goldsmiths, once keepers of currency, saw their craft stripped of its everyday function. And ordinary families who had used tiny pinches of gold to buy food now struggled to navigate an unfamiliar system of foreign coins. Gold, once the tool of Akan freedom, became the engine of empire. British companies seized control of mines in places like Obuasi, exporting tons of gold to London. While Europe built wealth on Akan soil, local communities were left poorer, forced into wage labour, or taxed into dependency. The irony was bitter. The very dust that had symbolised identity and pride was rebranded as a colonial commodity. What had once bought chickens and cloth in Kumasi now lined the vaults of the Bank of England. In 1957, Ghana became the first independent African nation. By 1965, the new Ghanaian currency was born, the cedi. Its name comes from cedi, the Akan word for cowrie shells, another ancient currency once used alongside gold dust. For the first time, Ghana had its own modern currency rooted in its cultural past. Ghana today is Africa's #1 gold producer, exporting over 130 tons annually. From the ancient dust markets of Kumasi to the massive Obuasi mines, gold remains the backbone of the nation's economy. Global demand makes it one of Ghana's top exports, alongside cocoa and oil. But gold's history is layered. In the past, it was not only exchanged for goods, but also played a role in the trade of enslaved people, tying West Africa to global systems of commerce that shaped the world. Despite this painful chapter, Akan resilience endured. Gold that once drew outsiders now fuels Ghana's independence, powering industries, jobs, and growth. And while gold exports remain vital, daily life is increasingly powered by the cedi and by digital money. Across markets and cities, phones are now wallets. In 2022 alone, mobile money transactions in Ghana exceeded $90 billion. From gold dust to brass weights, from colonial coins to cedis, and now to digital wallets, the Akan story shows us that while money changes, culture and innovation endure. Today, the Akan people remain Ghana's largest ethnic group, spread across regions like Ashanti, Eastern, Central, and Brong-Ahafo. The great clans, the Asante, Fante, Akayem, Bono, Akwapim, Kwahu, and others, each carry a proud history shaped by gold, trade, and resilience. For modern Akan families, money is still more than numbers. It carries responsibility. Among the Asante, success is measured not only by wealth, but by how much you contribute to your clan, whether through education, caring for elders, or supporting funerals and festivals. In Fante communities along the coast, money flows through fishing and trade. Here, family networks and hometown associations pool resources, proving that wealth is still a collective project, not just an individual one. In the Bono and Akayem regions, farmers invest their earnings in cocoa, plantain, and cassava, showing that land remains a foundation of Akan prosperity. And in bustling cities like Kumasi and Accra, young Akan entrepreneurs merge tradition with technology, running businesses powered by mobile money, savings groups, and cooperative investment. Across all Akan clans, the idea remains the same. Money is not just for personal gain. It is for building family, strengthening community, and preserving identity. The Akan story of wealth has shifted from gold dust to cedis and digital wallets. But the heartbeat of responsibility, kinship, and resilience remains the same. The Akan story reminds us that money is never just money. It is dust and metal, yes, but also trust, culture, and identity. From the sparkle of gold dust to the wisdom of brass weights, from colonial coins to the cedi, and now to digital wallets, the Akan have shown that wealth is not only measured in what we own, but in how we live, share, and endure. Today, Ghana's gold fuels the world, the cedi powers daily life, and mobile money opens new doors. Yet the lesson of the Akan is timeless. True wealth lies in community, in resilience, and in the stories we carry forward. This was more than a history of currency. It is a history of people, of identity, struggle, and innovation. And as the Akan say, Sika ye mogya, money is like blood. It flows, it sustains, it connects. From dust to digital, the Akan legacy continues. If this story opened your eyes, don't let it end here. Hit like, share it with someone who needs to know this history, and subscribe to Money Cultured for more powerful stories where wealth meets culture.